Hey, hello, how are you? So, a quick one. Um, in my previous video, I did mention that my trigger points, the areas, are really there, and whenever you walk in them, they just disappear and trigger some text to be shown. But this time around, for this particular trigger point, yeah, it doesn't disappear, right? Because there's some more logic on top of it. So let's look at the configuration for this particular element. I introduced some of JsonLogic configuration to it. For example, right here it says the rule pre or precondition in my case. I need to have some sort of a variable talked to enemy. Apparently it should be trucy. And the way I will know that I did talk to enemy is on this point where the butcher stands, and it doesn't have the precondition rule, but it does have a postcondition rule. And it says set variable talked to enemy true. How do I know that I have these elements in my, or not elements, variables in my scope that I can check? Well, for the logic layer, which I expect to see in the game, there's a concept of blackboard, which has literally all the keys I'm interested in. Now, if we go ahead and do talk to the enemy, you'll see some weird text in here when I step inside. Bam. All right. So I am setting talked to enemy true, and some extra shitty messages that I print out because I am developing and I want to have some fun when I develop. And now when I enter the trigger point, it did work. So rule precondition was found, talked to enemy, it did work, and some other gameplay, the minimal gameplay stuff happens. Cool, huh? In essence, this kind of feels like blueprints from Unreal Engine, right? We've got some basic stuff like entering inside some area, and when that happens, there's a set of logic pieces going on, and there's some setting of variables going on, and resulting action is taking place. Let's see in the code. So I do have a concept of blackboard. It's also a term I use from Unreal Engines. Um, what was it? A behavior tree. They have a set of blackboard variables they keep track of. So whenever I enter the trigger point, I do process a dialog and I do read the rule pre, which is a precondition rule. I use JsonLogic library where I insert the rule. There's my blackboard as a context or a set of fields we keep track of. This was the message you saw in the game prototype, rule pre. Yep. So yeah, you see all of these. Nice. And if there's a rule pre in general, we run it. If the result is falsy, then we don't execute other stuff. We don't show the messages which we wanted to show when we entered the trigger area. We don't process anything at all. We don't even have post-condition rules because it makes no sense. The precondition rule didn't satisfy the logic of the application and blah blah blah. So for JsonLogic, it's quite an interesting library. It has various implementations. I use the JavaScript one, so it has Python, PHP, Ruby, Go, C++, and as you can see, there's a rule for and if something is more. So if the 3 number is more than 1 and 1 is less than 3, then it's true. That's great. It didn't have the set value thing that I needed. So when I entered the trigger point of the enemy, when it didn't have the trigger point of the enemy, I did want to set the variable to talked to enemy to true. So I had to add that via their extension capabilities. So globally, set var is becoming set blackboard var, and I had to bind it to this just in order for the function to know in which context it works, so that this blackboard actually points to, well, this blackboard in here, and I set the key. Pretty straightforward, but yeah, the logic kind of works. So let's add this one. Oh no, wait. Yeah, let's add some logic to this one. Literally, let's copy the rule precondition to talked to enemy for this. So whenever we trigger this one, it was saying so many bodies and removes the trigger. Let's actually see how it works before we have added anything. So this one says, all right, so many bodies, blah, 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 but we didn't talk to enemy. It's fine for the current planned gameplay, but I will want to expand on it. So for this one, I have copied the talked to enemy. Bam. So JSON rules. Yeah, it's a proper JSON. Let's save it and let's export it to the basement JSON, which I use for the gameplay thing. All right. Oh, by the way, like and subscribe. So now we enter here, and let's see. Yep, the thing doesn't. Oh man, it broke. Oh, I lost the focus. Sorry. So this rule is still, yeah, it works. The trigger point doesn't execute because, well, the rule precondition is not satisfied. We haven't talked to the enemy, whatever this thing does. And now it is supposed to say, yep, talked to enemy. We're setting that to true. And now this works. So gameplay mechanics, everything is configured through everything. It's going to be a mess for me to implement some proper gameplay mechanics or dialogs, but it's not hard-coded in the game. And when I introduced other levels other than this, because you've probably hated the entire level at this point, and yeah, I mean it's the same stuff all over again. But yeah, this sandbox should expire. Anyway, I hope you liked the configuration stuff I have right now. I mean, Unreal Engine is great. I've played with it for maybe 4 months, but it's too rich for me and for the game I'm trying to make and learn about game making. doesn't require more than this. So I hope you liked it. Cheers.